And it was just concrete where people go to get some sun. It was just a concrete ground. So I was sleeping on the concrete outside because I wouldn't go in, because I thought it was too much sense gratification to be in their house. So the first night I remember, I woke up and I had a little photo of Radha Krishna and Srila Prabhupada, and I brought some little arti paraphernalia from Vrindavan. And the patio was just outside the window of their bedroom. So at about 4 in the morning, they heard these bells ringing. And my father, he woke up. What is these bells ringing? In America, no one hears bells ringing. And he came out to the patio, and my back was toward the door. And I was offering the deep, the ghee lamp, a little flame of fire to the picture of Radha Krishna. This was 4 in the morning. That's normal for us, but not for Americans. So he said to me, "Son, what are you doing?" And I turned around and I said, "I am offering arti." Then I turned back and continued. And of course I couldn't eat any of the food they were making. And then I found out Prabhupada was coming to New York, so I hitchhiked to New York, and then ultimately I was in New Vrindavan. And they were so happy, at least they knew where I was for the first time in years. And they would come to New Vrindavan to try to visit me. It was so much endeavor. At one time I was pujari, and I lived on a mountain. It was about 6 kilometers. And it was just a mud path. No vehicle can go up there. And they were elderly at that time also. And I remember my father wanted to see me, but because I was pujari, I couldn't leave the deities up there. So they said, "If you want to see your son, you have to go up the mountain to where he's living." I was all alone, worshipping Radha Vrindavanath. So in order to get up there, he couldn't walk because the mud was so deep, so they brought him in a horse wagon. Here's ox cart. It was an ox cart with the oxens were going to bring hay up. So they said, "If you want to come, you can sit on the hay." So he sat on the back, and it was, because it's not a road, it's just going up a mountain. It took about almost an hour, and he was in terrible condition when he got up there. And it was cold, it was terribly cold and raining. There's no heat in the place, there's no chairs. I was all alone. I was so happy I wanted to give him Mahaprasad, but we had no spoons or forks. He said, "How do I eat it?" I said, "You use your fingers." He has never, that is something no one has heard of. Anyways, he was up there, and I remember he said, "Son, you have everything in the world to enjoy. What are you doing living here? What do you do all day?" Because it was in the middle of a dense jungle on the top of a mountain. Now it's been renovated, but in those days it was really a jungle. So I brought him to see the deities, and I said, "I serve them throughout the day and night." And tears came from his eyes. He said, "You mean all that we've given you all your life, you've decided to spend a whole life playing with dolls?" Because Americans don't know what deities are. So I explained, this is not a doll, this is Radha and Krishna, this is the Supreme Lord and his eternal consort. And I preached to him. And he was always trying to understand. My mother and father always tried to understand as much as they could, although it was incomprehensible to them according to their previous conditionings. And they always wanted to support me. And I can say through all that, they were always supportive, always trying to appreciate whatever I did, whether they understood it or not, and they really kept that word that they gave. So he spent the day up there. He had to go to the bathroom. There's no toilets. I said, you have to dig a hole in the ground, and then you have to go like that. He said, I'll wait till I get to the Pittsburgh airport. And then he went, so the person who was supposed to pick him up came hours and hours later, and the ox cart broke. So he brought horses, and what he came up with was the manure wagon, where all the horse manure and cow dung are put into this wagon and then spread into the fields. And they basically swept it out, but still it was full of manure. And they put a little hay down and said, Mr. Slavin, you can sit here. And I remember saying to him as he was leaving, I'm sorry, Father, I couldn't have offered you more. And with tears in his eyes, he looked around and he said, what could you have offered me? There's nothing here. And then he went to Pittsburgh airport. He flew to Chicago. And then a devotee came to sell him a book. I already gave him so many books of Srila Prabhupada, so he had already so many books. So he didn't need any more books. But he was thinking that, let me just show my appreciation for these devotees and help them by buying a book. So he said, I only have $20, and I'll give you $5 for the book, but I need the rest for the taxi to get home from the airport. That's actually all he had. So he gave, and the person said, yes, I'll give you change. And then after he gave the book, he said, well, $20, the cost of the books is $30, so we'll just leave it at that. And he started walking away. So my father said, please, give me the change that you gave. And he reached out to try to have that devotee understand that he needed the money. As soon as he did that, another devotee from behind beat him with his fist behind the neck. And my father fell to the ground practically unconscious. 4 policemen saw it happen, and about 20 eyewitnesses. When he got up, the policeman had the devotees in handcuffs, yes, and said, these men are going to jail. We saw it. All these are eyewitnesses. My father laid down, he was laying there, and he got up somehow and he said, no. He said, my son is a member of these devotees, and it's a good movement. And these people may not be good, but they should not give a bad impression about this movement because it's good. So let them go. So they let them go. And for the next 6 months, he was in caste. So he did prove to me that whatever I did, he would always stand behind and support. And my mother and father, in America, it was such a cultural difference to understand Krishna consciousness that they could never really appreciate. They wanted to appreciate. They wanted to understand. They supported, but they could never really appreciate. They would even speak to others that this is a good movement, but in their hearts, they only saw many young people who were coming from another generation. And then, 10 years ago, we invited them to come to India. And when they came to India, the first program was at Srinathji's house, on his terrace. And Krishna Chandra Prabhu and Radha Priya and Maithili Priya, they were so hospitable in welcoming them. I believe that first night completely transformed their hearts. It was the first time in their lives that they deeply, from the core of their hearts, appreciated Krishna consciousness and appreciated what I was doing for the world. Every night they were crying while they were in India. They were crying, saying, "Son, we're so proud of you. We're so proud of what you are doing. We appreciate so much. Now we can understand what you have done all these years. We could never understand it before." And when they were we went to Jaipur. Actually, in Radha Gopinath temple, my mother was dancing with Srinathji's mother. I was leading kirtan, and she was spinning around like this in front of Radha Gopinath. And I saw my father with his arms raised, running back and forth in the temple with the devotees chanting. I was thinking, is this a hallucination? That they are chanting and dancing in front of the deities? But it was all of you that changed their hearts, just by seeing you and hearing from you. We went to Jaipur, we took them to Radha Govinda temple. The first thing, my mother and father, they bowed down in front of the deity, and the first thing, they took money and said, "Could we give this to Krishna?" And as a ritual for Western tourists, we decided to take them to Taj Mahal, which they considered the most uneventful part of their whole journey. Okay. So we were driving from Agra to Delhi, where their flight was going from Delhi. It happened to be December 7th, which is my birthday. It was the first time in probably at least 20 years since I was with them on my birthday. So as we were driving, they said to me, "We want to give you something for your birthday. Anything we have, just tell us. There's nothing we will not give you. Just tell us what we can give you on your birthday." And I knew they meant it. I said, very soon we will be arriving in Vrindavan. The only desire I have, if you really want to give me a birthday gift, is you come to Vrindavan. And from the time we arrived in the outskirts of Vrindavan to the time we leave, you chant Hare Krishna with me. I will sing and you clap your hands and chant. So they said, yes, we will do. We arrived in Vrindavan in the car, and I started the kirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just like that. We stopped the car in Vrindavan, and I decided to take them to the most sacred temples of Vrindavan. I told them they should take off their shoes because they had nice shoes and someone might steal them. So they were in their stockings. And the first step, my father, when he came out of the car, he stepped in a big pile of cow dung. Do you remember that? And his stocking was soaked with cow dung, up to his ankle. He said, "What am I supposed to do now?" I said, "The cow dung is pure." And we somehow looked for some water where he could wash somewhere. But he was walking with a limp because he didn't know how to walk with cow dung on his foot. We went into the Radharaman temple. And for almost 1 hour, we just sat in front of the deity of Radharaman having kirtan together. And I thought this was some sort of a surrealistic hallucination. Sitting in Radharaman temple with my mother and father having kirtan in front of the deity. And they were chanting so sincerely. And then we were chanting down the streets, doing Harinam Sankirtan, the three of us, from temple to temple. Then my mother had to go to bathroom. I told them, the only place I know is on the bank of nearest in the forest. She said, "I will wait till I get to Delhi." Do you remember? And then we went so many temples, Radha Govinda, Radha Raman, Radha Damodar. And then we went to Krishna Balaram temple and saw the samadhi of Srila Prabhupada and Krishna Balaram. There she found a bathroom. And she said, "I like this temple the best." Because Prabhupada's temple was so clean and so beautiful and so full of life. They saw the devotees chanting and dancing in front of Krishna and Balaram. Happy days we've had in our whole lives. And these devotees in Bombay were the best people, the kindest people we've met in our entire lives. Thank you very much. And the next time I came to America, all relatives who I haven't even seen in years, they were coming to tell me that your parents are so proud of you. They give us your tapes of your lectures. And they're constantly telling how proud they are of you and how happy and the good work you're doing and all about all your friends in India. And then my brother, he was married and had his first granddaughter. And they were wondering, my brother and his wife, how we should bless this child in the name of God. So my mother and father said that your brother is a holy priest and you should bless him in the name of Krishna in a Krishna temple, and your brother will do the blessings. In America they have baptism, you know. So they called me to Tucson, Arizona, where my mother and father told them that you should have the child blessed in Krishna's temple by your brother. And they brought the baby to the Krishna temple in Tucson, Arizona, and I explained to them that the real blessing is when all the relatives chant the name of God, crying out for the blessing of God to come upon the child. So you should all chant with that sincerity. So all relatives were chanting. And my mother and father looked at the other relatives and said, "We know how to do it, you just watch us." And it was unbelievable, because my brother I would never expect, and his wife, and his wife's mother, they were all with their arms raised, just crying out the names of Krishna. And the little baby was sitting there. And I sprinkled Ganga water on baby's head. And they wanted me to give her a spiritual name. Her name was Sarah, so we gave her the name Saraswati. And the next grandson, my parents insisted that your brother should give blessings, and he should get spiritual name and be blessed in the temple of Krishna. And this time they talked so many and showed people photos of the first time, so now more relatives came. Yes? And all the pain and suffering I caused them, inconceivable. That in the end, they could actually understand what I was doing and appreciate. And not only appreciate, but participate. It's one of very... They wanted to come some years ago, but my father needed heart surgery, so they couldn't come. And they wanted to come another year, and my mother had needed hip surgery, so they couldn't come. But for year after year, it has been their great, great longing to be with all of you again. And somehow, by the grace of Lord Krishna, this morning they came again to be with all of us. This year is the 75th birthday for both of them. So my request is all of you pray to Krishna to give the most auspicious blessings to them. And please, after the program, everyone go up and give them your good wishes. Meet with them. It is my humble request. And we'll be having programs the next 3 nights also. So there's much more I could say, but it is becoming late. But I did want to take some time to express my gratitude to both of you, and my prayers that Lord Krishna may forever bless you with greater and greater happiness and devotion. And I especially want to thank all of you for your great kindness to me. Srila Prabhupada's mercy is so wonderful that all of our relationships and all of our activities can be transformed in the most fulfilling, satisfying way in Krishna service. Thank you very much. And now we will just have a few minutes of kirtan. Do you remember how to do this kirtan? Hari Rama, Hari Rama, Rama Rama, Hari Hari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Krishna